So Stephen O'Keefe isn't going to be coming back for Waterford. Do we see that as a massive blow? There are good goalkeepers there, Billy Nolan, Sean O'Brien, etc. in Watford, but he's arguably the most complete goalie out there.
Yeah, I think it's a lot. It's obviously a loss not to get him back, and I'd say Davey kind of tried to move mountains in order to get him back. But his mind was obviously made up. I got the feeling from talking to him that his mind was kind of veering towards thinking about it more or contemplating it a bit more. Listen, to me, he's probably the second or third best keeper in the country. Owen Murphy thinks he's the best keeper in the country. Having him and having his experience, in being in control of the ball 30 or 40 times per game and knowing that you have such a safe pair of hands and probably the best shot stopper. Say him and Murphy are even a little bit ahead of Nicky Quaid in terms of shot stopping. But it is a loss. But the only thing is, Sean O'Brien has got time last year. They've had time, I suppose, in the last couple of years without O'Keefe there. So it's not as if it's a bombshell where somebody is leaving a squad and leaves a big gaping hole. The hole has had to be filled in the last couple of years. To be fair, it's been filled quite well. I think O'Keefe, one of the key things with O'Keefe though is, like, remember last year when Waterford played Tipperary in the first round of Munster and they just could not get their hands on a ball from a puck out, in particular like a long puck out. I think Stephen O'Keefe would maybe have that little bit more nous to find a way around that or to work something else. But whereas the other two guys are obviously carrying a lot less experience. But yeah, it's a pity from a hurling point of view that he's not going to be involved. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's just that experience and even leadership. Billy Nolan, he's a very good player playing centre back for his club and also for WIT. Sean O'Brien has been really, really good, but neither of them have the same level of, I suppose, experience at the big stage at huge games at Croke Park and so on. We'll just go back into some of the comments about Con versus Clifford and anyone else in between. Cha Fitz was another one that we were going to mention. Come back to that in a second. Richard Hogan says the fact that it being a dual code is incredible, although mixing it between both codes might have kept it fresh for him. I remember actually during that run, there was a time we were out in Abbottstown training, and you would, for whatever reason, Jason Sherlock was there, presumably with the Dublin setup at the time. So he was over chatting with Con at one stage. So even in between a session or around the session, you had football chat going on while he's also focused on hurling. So that's plenty for a young guy.
Yeah, you could say, Shane, it might have kept him fresh, but how, like, if you didn't play hurling for 3 or 4 months or you weren't playing every week, those balls that kind of are around your feet and you just can't move your feet quick enough and you just don't have the nous to get the ball into your hand. Like, Con was literally just, it was sticking despite the fact that he wasn't playing hurling every day of the week. So I think you can say it might have kept him fresh, but his hurling never dipped in any way, or his football never dipped when he was focusing on hurling. It was remarkable, really.
To win in 2 codes is better. I'd have to go with Con season, says River Power. SSRI says, hi Shane, is that a 50s Wexford jersey or is it a 60s one? I'm not actually entirely sure, but I'd say some of the eagle-eyed Wexford folk out there would know. So let us know.
Could straddle the boat, I'd say. Could just about straddle the boat.
A Sully 180, the transition between the 2 codes has to just swing it in Con's favour. James S. O'Keefe, a strange one. Hard to think of another top inter-county level player opting out when at his peak, but there has to be plenty of top-class inter-county players who have opted out. Philip Mahoney, and this obviously it's not just a Waterford thing, but Philip Mahoney, what's his name as well, from Tipperary, that I'd love to see playing the killer one, Jerome Cahill.
Yeah. Jerome Cattle's probably a bit different in the sense that you think he has like 7, 8, 9, 10 years potentially with Tipperary if he went in there and stayed in there. But like O'Keefe was at his top probably when he left, I would say. Remember the double save in the All-Ireland final, how they didn't concede a goal in that All-Ireland final against Limerick in 2020 is unbelievable. And then a couple of weeks later, he's taken a year out, and then a year later, he's retired. Off the top, you kind of caught me there. Off the top of my head, I can't think of too many lads that left. Like, you could say JJ left not at his peak, but he was at nearly his best. But he was of an age where, like, JJ was definitely 32 or 33, and it's like you're kind of maybe sensing that the standards are going to drop. Whereas with Stephen O'Keefe, I would have hazarded a guess to say that if Stephen O'Keefe had stayed involved with Waterford at the end of 2022, going into 2021, he probably would have had at least another 5 seasons. At least
Lee Keegan had another season in him.
Yeah, now I think O'Keefe is different. I think O'Keefe has another 3 to 4 seasons at least. Whereas some lads, and probably rightly from their point of view, this almost smell that maybe they're not recovering as quicker. Maybe now is a good time to go. I saw Andy Moore talking there saying that if James Horn had stayed on, that he's like he thinks Lee Keegan would have definitely stayed on. It was like a new regime. It was like a chance to go out in between managers, if you get me, in between kind of regimes or 3-year blocks. So yeah, listen, O'Keefe is going to be a big loss, but listen, they've ploughed on the last couple of years, and no doubt they'll plough on again.